In a quiet estate on the outskirts of Enugu, a wealthy couple, well known for their generosity and quiet lifestyle, opened their gates to a stranger one hot Tuesday afternoon. The young girl stood weakly at the entrance, dusty feet, cracked lips, with a frail baby tied to her back. She couldn't have been more than 18. Her eyes were red from crying, and her voice shook as she begged for just a plate of food. There was no plan to take her in. Their intention was simple: give her something to eat and send her on her way. But what began as a simple act of kindness became a decision that would change the couple's entire life. Because this girl, Soma, did not just come with hunger. She came with a secret too heavy for her young shoulders and too dangerous for the kind-hearted couple that took her in. The wife, known in the area for her nurturing spirit, insisted they allow the girl stay for a few days. The girl claimed she had no parents, no relatives, and nowhere to go. Her story was heartbreaking. The child she carried was fathered by a man who had denied her and chased her away. The husband was reluctant at first. "What if she's lying?" he asked. But the wife saw something in the girl's eyes, something fragile, something broken, and convinced her husband to give her a chance. A small room at the back of the house was cleared out. Clothes were provided. Food was served. The girl thanked them with tears in her eyes. She said the baby's name was Chidi. Within 1 week, Soma had become part of the household routine. She cleaned without being told. She washed. She fetched water. The baby cried less. His skin started to glow. His laughter began to fill the house. The couple, who have tried everything to have children for over 10 years, began to feel a new kind of warmth. For the first time in years, the wife smiled from her heart. The husband, once quiet and withdrawn, now spent his evenings playing with the child. Neighbors noticed, some whispered, some smiled. Nobody suspected what was coming. It happened on a Sunday morning. The wife had woken up later than usual. The house was too quiet. No sound of plate clinking, no giggling from the baby, no footsteps. She walked through the corridor. The door to the girl's room was open. Inside, the bed was neatly arranged. The small bag the girl came with was gone. Her slippers missing, her wrapper no longer on the hanger. But the baby was still there, wrapped in a light cloth, sleeping peacefully on the couple's couch. Soma had vanished. No note, no warning, no explanation. Panic spread quickly. The husband called the police. They checked the hospitals, markets, parks, nothing. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. But the child, Chidi, remained. The couple was left with only one question: why would a girl abandon her own baby? The child was too young to understand anything. He cried for milk and reached out for the woman who had become like his mother. And in the absence of answers, the couple decided to raise him as their own. Hospitals were contacted, birth registration began, clothes were bought, a cot was placed beside the couple's bed. The house came alive. For the first time in over a decade of marriage, the couple felt like a family. Chidi's first steps were taken on the polished tiles of their living room. His first words were spoken during evening prayers. His laughter became a melody that echoed through every corner of the house. Even the husband, once skeptical, began referring to Chidi as "our son." Family members visited. Church members celebrated. Their wife's body glowed with joy. Her eyes no longer held the sorrow of waiting. It seemed like the heavens had finally remembered them. But fate does not give such gifts without a cost, and that cost was on its way, slowly but surely. 2 years had passed. The child, Chidi, was now walking, talking, and full of life. The couple had thrown in a small second birthday party. Nothing too elaborate, just cake, balloons, and a few family friends. Their joy was complete. But exactly 1 week after that celebration, the house phone rang. It was early morning. Rain tapped against the windows. The wife was in the kitchen preparing oats when the call came in. She answered with a cheerful tone. As she listened, the color drained from her face. Her hands trembled. She dropped the spoon. The oats burned. The husband rushed in. "What is it?" he asked. All she could whisper was, "She is back." Later that day, Umesoma appeared at the gate, but she didn't come alone. 2 men stood behind her. One wore a lawyer's suit, the other held a file. The girl, now more matured, well-fed and composed, no longer looked like the desperate teenager from 2 years ago. Her voice was firm. "I've come to take back my son." The wife froze, her heart pounded. "You left him. You abandoned him. How dare you return now after all these years?" But the lawyer beside her spoke calmly. "Madam, abandonment is not the same as adoption. There are no legal papers giving you rights to this child." The husband stepped forward. "We took care of him, fed him, treated him when he was sick. He knows us. We are the only parents he has ever known." But the lawyer only nodded. "Unfortunately, in the eyes of the law, none of that gives you permanent custody." The couple stood in silence, watching the girl who had once begged at their gates now stand tall with legal backing. A court date was set, and just like that, what had once been a house of joy began to fill with tension and fear. The courtroom was filled to the brim. Family, neighbors, and even curious strangers came to watch the case that had quietly stirred the entire estate. On one side sat the couple, dressed in plain sorrowful clothes, holding tightly to each other's hands. On the other hand was Umesoma, confident, calm, supported by her lawyer. She claimed she left the baby with the couple temporarily during a difficult time, expecting to return, but had been unable to because she was hospitalized after collapsing at a bus stop. She said no one had believed her story, that she had only recently found the couple's address again after long searching. The courtroom murmured. The couple's lawyer asked, "Do you have any record that you attempted to reach them after disappearing?" She shook her head. "I was recovering and I was ashamed." Tears rolled down the wife's cheeks as she watched Chidi, now 3, sitting in the back with a social worker, confused, fiddling with his toy car, unaware that the people he called mommy and daddy were being challenged. The judge said he would review all facts and give a ruling in 1 week, but that ruling would never come because the truth was still buried and it was about to crawl out. The husband couldn't sleep. Something about Umesoma's story didn't sit well with him. He hired a private investigator quietly. Not even his wife knew. The man traced Umesoma's hometown, spoke to locals, visited the health center where she claimed she was treated, and one evening the investigator returned holding a thin brown envelope. Inside were documents, photos, and one detail that shook the husband to his bones. He placed the evidence on the dining table and called his wife. Her eyes widened as she read. The truth? The baby was not Umesoma's child. 3 years ago, a teenage girl from another village gave birth in secret. The father was a married man, a chief, who paid her to keep the child's birth hidden. Ashamed, the girl handed the baby to a middleman who promised to find him a better life. That middleman, he sold the baby to a small underground ring of women who rented children to beggars, pretending to be their mothers. Umesoma had been one of them. But when she reached the couple's house and saw kindness for the first time in her life, she made a new plan, abandoned the fake mother role and disappeared, hoping the child would be raised in peace until greed returned. Armed with proof, the couple returned to court. Their lawyer presented the documents, photos, and the DNA test they secretly carried out, which confirmed neither Umesoma nor the couple were biologically related to Chidi. The court fell silent. Umesoma stood up, trembling. Her lies were exposed. The judge ordered her arrest. She cried, begged for mercy, but it was too late. The court handed temporary custody to the couple, pending efforts to find their true biological mother. That evening, the couple sat in silence, holding Chidi close. He looked up at them with innocent eyes and asked, "Are we going home now?" The woman nodded through her tears. "Yes, my son, we are going home." Months passed. No one came forward as the true mother. The adoption process began. Chidi would never know the full storm that once surrounded him. All he knew was that the two people who loved him most never stopped fighting to keep him safe. And somewhere in that quiet house on the edge of Enugu, laughter returned. But the lesson was loud and clear. Not every girl with a baby is a mother, and not every act of kindness leads to peace. But love, real love, fights, protects, and always finds a way.